How do I meet my soulmate? How do I move on from heartbreak? Does my dream relationship even exist? Are dating apps the only way I can meet people? Are all relationships this hard? This is Between the Sheets with Dr. Love. Each week, your host dives into sex, love, dating, relationships, and everything in between. Welcome to Between the Sheets with Dr. Love.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Between the Sheets with me, Dr. Love. Today, I want to talk about one of the most disorientating parts of growth, and that is healing can feel wrong before it feels safe. And I think this topic matters because so many people start changing and start setting boundaries and start choosing themselves, start slowing down, start telling the truth about what they want in life, and they start breaking old patterns. And then this discomfort kicks in, and they assume they must be doing something wrong. Sometimes you're actually finally doing something right. It just doesn't feel familiar yet. And that is the difference. Your nervous system does not automatically measure health. It actually measures familiarity. It measures what it knows. It measures what has been on repeat. So if your body has spent years surviving through overthinking, people-pleasing, overworking, chasing love, tolerating breadcrumbs, fixing everyone else, shrinking yourself, being hypervigilant, or living in chaos, even bracing for disappointment, staying in emotionally expensive situations, then that starts to feel like you're normal. Painful, yes. Exhausting, of course. But you're normal. So when you begin to heal, when you stop saying yes to everything and everyone, when you stop over-explaining yourself, when you stop tolerating mixed signals and start resting instead of pushing, when you start to set boundaries, when you let people be disappointed and stop being over-responsible for how they're feeling, when you start to tell the truth rather than resentment building, your body is going to freak out. And that does not mean you are on the wrong track. It means you are leaving the old one behind. And that can feel terrifying because healing often sounds like this in the beginning. Am I being selfish? Maybe I'm being too harsh. I think I could be overreacting. Maybe I should just go back to how it was. It was a lot easier. No one got hurt. Maybe it's just easier if I keep the peace. It's not worth all this discomfort. So that voice is very common, but it's not always your wisdom speaking. Sometimes it's simply your conditioning, panicking, because the old self was organized around survival. The new self is being organized around truth. And there is a very uncomfortable bridge between the two things. There's a bridge full of guilt and doubt. There's a bridge full of grief and confusion, feeling lost and selfish and emotionally raw. Feeling like your whole life doesn't fit properly anymore. And that is often the threshold. I think many people imagine healing will feel instantly peaceful. Like it's all kumbaya and candles and journaling and becoming this radiant woman who chooses herself and drinks lemon and hot water every morning on an empty stomach and doesn't check her texts for about 30 minutes after waking. Yeah, it can sound like that. But often, healing is a lot uglier than that. Sometimes it's shaking in your body. Sometimes it's crying. Sometimes it's guilt. Sometimes it's saying no when you really want to say yes. Sometimes it's that feeling of wanting to vomit and feeling sick after putting your boundaries up. Sometimes it's leaving what hurts and then suddenly thinking, I miss it. And my body is starting to mistake chaos for connection. Sometimes it's silence where there used to be drama. It's grief where there used to be distraction. Healing is not always pretty, but it's honest. And one of the hardest things is that your body can interpret healthy change as danger. Why? Well, because you were raised in environments where deep love depended on your compliance, which then makes boundaries feel risky. If you were raised to keep the peace, truth will feel dangerous to you. If you were valued for being useful, resting or sitting on the lounge will start to feel lazy for you. If you survived through overfunctioning, that feeling of stillness will deeply be uncomfortable. If you learned to chase being chosen, when you are chosen, you'll feel suspicious. And that's just how conditioning works. So, what does healing discomfort actually look like? Well, if you set a boundary, that's the feeling of guilt. It looks like questioning yourself after saying no. It looks like wanting to apologize for having needs. It looks like missing the person who was bad for you because the drama is gone and your body is detoxing from activation. It looks like feeling weirdly empty when you are no longer busy fixing everyone else. It looks like second guessing your standards, thinking maybe you should just go back. And that is not always longing. Sometimes that's withdrawal. And that matters because people think they miss the chaos. It's not necessarily true. It often means your body has been trained to equate suffering with attachment. So when healing begins, the nervous system says, "Excuse me, where is the familiar stress I'm usually used to? Where is the stress that makes me feel connected?" That is why some women leave toxic relationships and then feel oddly lost. And it's not because the relationship was good. It's because their identity was organized around surviving it. That is why so many women start becoming more assertive and suddenly feel like they're turning into a bad person. But they're not becoming a bad person. They're becoming visible. And the people who benefited from their old self or old identity may not like it. And that is another brutal little detail of healing. Not everyone is going to clap. Some people preferred the version of you that was easier to manage, or the version of you that stayed quiet or made everyone else feel comfortable. And when you changed, you lost people. And not because you are failing at changing, but because you are no longer available for a certain type of dynamic. And so healing does come at a cost. And one part of that cost is that you cannot become more whole and stay perfectly digestible to everyone, especially those who benefited from your fragmentation. Now, how do you know the difference between healing discomfort and actually doing the wrong thing? Well, healing discomfort usually has a feeling of truth underneath it. It's uncomfortable, yes, but there is something clean in it, something honest, something self-respecting, something that's in you that knows this is hard, but it feels right. It's this intuition where you say to yourself, oh, this feels uncomfortable, but I just know I have to do this. Self-betrayal feels different. It usually requires you to override that feeling, to almost silence yourself, diminish yourself, rationalize something in your body where your body is already telling you this is not okay. One of the feelings will stretch you and the other feeling will shrink you. That distinction matters. When your nervous system is freaking out, slow it down. Do not obey every fear-based thought. Do not make any permanent decisions in a temporary activation. Do not interpret guilt as evidence that your boundary was wrong. Sometimes guilt is just the price of no longer self-abandoning. Discomfort is the feeling of a new standard of being born. Sometimes grief is the feeling of an old identity dying. And sometimes confusion is just what happens when the map no longer matches the life you are meant to live. And that is okay. You do not need to be fully comfortable in order to be on the right path. I actually think many people quit healing too early because they thought the discomfort meant they were lost or doing it wrong. But no, sometimes being lost and uncomfortable is just the doorway. It's the old life that has ended and the new one that is just not fully formed yet. Sometimes you are between those two identities and you are meeting parts of you that never got to exist before because survival took up all of the oxygen. So if you are a woman that is feeling guilty for changing, give yourself permission. You are allowed to stop shrinking. You are allowed to want peace, to tell the truth, to step into your authenticity. You're allowed to rest if you need to. You're allowed to say no without writing a 3-page essay as to why you wanted to say no. You're allowed to be disappointed in people, and people are allowed to be disappointed in you. Sometimes those people that are disappointed were only comfortable when you had no edges. And that is not selfish. It's called self-respect. So if feeling feels uncomfortable right now, if you feel a bit shaky, confused, raw, emotionally uncertain, like you're grieving things that you can't even name, I want you to hear me. You're not going backwards. You may be becoming. And becoming is rarely neat. It's often messy, tender, disorientating, and very, very sacred. So I'm going to say pause. Don't run back to the old pain just because it feels familiar and you're not sure of what this is that you're feeling now. Stay with yourself. Slow down, breathe, and tell the truth. Keep going. The life you want may feel strange at first because your body has no memory of it yet. But that does not mean it isn't yours. It may simply mean you are meeting a version of yourself who has been waiting a very long time to exist, and you're just about to open the door. So I want you to celebrate that version of you. You're about to open the door, and that part of you is about to come out and play. And I am going to ask you to let her. Let her come out and play. Let her feel uncomfortable. Let her dance with the feeling of feeling uncomfortable and uncertain. Because maybe there's a part of her that was told that when you feel that way, it was wrong. But now as an adult, you can make every uncomfortable feeling be right. So that's a wrap for today. I actually love this topic. This episode is quite personal for me because I know for my healing journey, it has been an experience. Extraordinarily beautiful, but not always easy. So if you've started yours, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. This is Dr. Love.
Thanks for listening to the podcast with Dr. Love. For all show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, head to www.drlove.com. That's DRLURVE.com. Got a question for Dr. Love? Email her at ask@dr.love.com. Love the show? Remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review or share it with your friends. Thanks for listening, lovers. We'll see you on the next episode. This is Between the Sheets with Dr. Love.